Let's join together in singing our opening hymn this morning, Gather the Spirit, words and music by Jim Scott. Let's join together in singing. Gather the Spirit, harvest the power, our separate fires will kindle one flame. Witness the mystery of this hour, our trials in this light appear all the same. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then, gather in hope, compassion and strength, gather to celebrate once again. Gather the spirit of heart and mind, seeds for the sowing are laid in store, nurtured in love and conscience refined, with body and spirit united once more. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then, gather in hope, compassion and strength, gather to celebrate once again.
Good morning, and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Greater Naples. My name is Lena Neal, and I'm your worship associate for this morning. We're very grateful for your presence, whether you're watching this service live this morning or whether you found just the right time to watch the recorded version, whether you regularly attend UUCGN or you happen to find us online. Our mission is to be a welcoming congregation, freely seeking intellectual and spiritual growth. We strive to create a larger community of peace, justice, and love. Now, especially in this time of separation, we strive to continue to grow spiritually in fellowship with others by joining in worship and in the many online opportunities that offer education, reflection, and discussion. If you're interested in finding out more about this wonderful congregation or joining our mailing list, check out our website or send an email to office@uunaples.org. We'd love to hear from you. On Friday, June 5th, Anna Riazzi sent out our weekly email entitled Sunday Services and Other Happenings, which was just chock full of information. We may be physically separated, but we are virtually offering many opportunities to be together, such as Tuesday meditation, Wonderful Wednesdays, and the question and answer with the minister's session on Thursday, and spiritual practices on Friday. Two special mentions, though, I'd like to call out for this week are, number one, Wonderful Wednesdays. They will continue throughout the summer 2 to 3 times a month. However, this Wednesday, June the 10th, we will not be holding Wonderful Wednesday. However, on Tuesday, June 17, the very popular Stories from UU returns with personal storytelling by UUCGN members and friends. Sign-ups for the virtual Chalice circles begin this week. To learn more about the 4 summer groups, check our website, uunaples.org, or the June 5th email that went out. Also, don't forget to join our virtual coffee hour on Facebook. Are you watching this service live right now? If you are, find the chat button and connect with others who are watching this morning. And now, let us center ourselves by finding a comfortable position, taking a deep breath, and entering into this time of worship together as this morning's prelude is played by Scott and Karen.
We arise each day in a remarkable place as the eastern sky pinks up like a newborn. Birds fill the air with song. In a world of sound and light and precious breath, we open the gift of each new day. Our task is to use its contents well and with compassion. No day's gift box is like another's, nor is any person's. Sometimes we'll find in that box everything we need. Sometimes we'll wonder if the box of our daily gifts will stretch far enough to feed our hunger. Others may judge what we do with our gift, but the only judgment that actually matters, makes any difference, comes from deep within. And then, only after we've lived our days and have a chance to reflect back as to how we've used them. On this day, on this morning, as we welcome you into this space, may we find ourselves worthy of the gift each day brings. And let's light our chalice this morning with these words. May this flame stir our hearts and remind us of our mission, to be truly welcoming, to grow in mind and spirit, and to widen the circle of peace, justice, and love. Singer and songwriter Bill Withers died at the end of March this year. Born July 4th, 1938, in Slab Fork, West Virginia, Withers was the youngest of 6 children. His dad was a coal miner, and he died when Bill was quite young. And so he was raised by his mom and his grandmother. He wrote the song Lean on Me, based on his experiences growing up in that Appalachian town, when times were hard, and when neighbors needed something beyond their means, they would reach out, and the rest of the community would chip in and help. Withers remembered coming up with the chord progression by noodling around on a new piano he had bought after his time in the service. And the chords reminded him of the hymns he used to sing in the church in Slab Fork when he was growing up. The song has had great legs. Originally written in 1971, it was a #1 single in 1972, and has since been covered by too many artists to count. The UUA published the song, in our Teal hymnal, Singing the Journey, that was published in 2005. And Lean on Me was inducted into the Grammy Hall of Fame in 2007. Most recently, the song became something of an anthem at the start of the coronavirus, when it was sung by school children connecting with one another across balconies and across the internet. This past Wednesday, it found a new place, a new genesis in the current protests against police violence. In the gathering outside the White House on Wednesday evening this past week, the crowds were there. They were still. They were present beyond the curfew. Holding up a light from his own cell phone and a microphone, Maryland-based singer Kenny Sway asked the gathered protesters if they could light up the city together. And soon the light spread throughout the gatherings, with everybody holding up their lit cell phones. And then Sway began to sing the Bill Withers song, Lean on Me. And in one of those special moments, the thousands there gathered began to sing with him. And so as we enter into our own time of centering and meditation, let's join together in singing Lean on Me by Bill Withers. Sometimes in our lives, we all have pain, we all have sorrow, but if we are wise, we know that there's always tomorrow. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on. Oh, it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. If there is a load you have to bear that you can't carry, I'm right up the I'll share your load if you just call me. Lean on me when you're not strong. We share a time of joys and sorrows every week, every Sunday, as we gather in this space. And as I said before, this is the moment when I feel the loss of your presence the most. I miss you. I wish you were here. I know that there's so many people out there struggling both with the isolation, with the anxiety, with the concern, the wondering where this is all going. We're a nation in a bit of turmoil right now, and what we have is each other. Our moments of sharing on Sunday morning bring us closer. Our moments of song and music do the same. Any Sunday, any week, if you have a joy or a sorrow that you'd like to have shared on Sunday morning, I hope that you'll send me a note and I can share it here in this time, in this space. Our joys and sorrows are left up on Sunday as the service sits on YouTube, but then an edited version of the service is put up without the joys and sorrows. That remains on our website for some time. So if you have a candle or a shell that you're holding or something nearby that you'd like to light or hold in honor of a joy or a sorrow, let's take a little bit of time to honor all those feelings we share together. And please join me in the spirit of meditation for these words by Loretta Williams. We, bearers of the dream, affirm that a new vision of hope is emerging. We pledge to work for that community in which justice will be actively present. We affirm that there is struggle ahead, yet we know that in the struggle is the hope for our future. We affirm that we are co-creators of the future, not passive pawns. And we stand united in affirmation of our hope and vision of a just and inclusive society. We affirm brotherhood and sisterhood that allows us to touch upon each other's humanity. We affirm an underlying unity that opens our eyes, ears, and hearts to see the different but common forms of oppression, suffering, and pain. It is said that we are all one in the image of God. And we are thus called to celebrate our hopes for that oneness found in beloved community. Within ourselves and within the gathered community, we will discover the strength not to hide in indifference. Affirming that hope, publicly expressed in word and song and in deed, energizes and enables us to move forward. Together we pledge action to transcend barriers, be they racial, economic, political, social, or religious. Spirit of life and love, we have but one life to live. Let us pledge ourselves in compassion to make our longed-for tomorrows and the tomorrows of our children to make them real in the everyday.
Everybody's wondering what and where they all came from. Everybody's worrying about where they're gonna go when the whole thing's done. I don't know what's for certain, and so it's all the same to me. I think I'll just let the mystery be. Some say once you're gone forever. Some say that you're known to come back. Some say you rest in the arms of the Savior if in sinful ways you lack. Some say they're gonna come back in a garden, bunch of carrots and little sweet peas. I think I'll just let the mystery be. Everybody's wondering what and where they all came from. Everybody's worrying about where they're gonna go when the whole thing's done. No one knows for certain, and so it's all the same to me. I think I'll just let the mystery be. Some say they're going to a place called glory, and I ain't saying it ain't a fact. But I've heard I'm on the road to purgatory, and I don't like the sound of that. I believe in love, and I live my life accordingly. I think I'll just let the mystery be. Everybody's wondering what and where they all came from. Everybody's worried about where they're gonna go when the whole thing's done. No one knows for certain, and so it's all the same to me. I think I'll just let the mystery be. I think I'll just let the mystery be.
It's my privilege now to read a poem by Frances Ellen Watkins Harper. I did not know this author until I received this, and I'm very glad that I got it. She was a poet and orator, the child of two free black parents who publicly advocated for abolition in education through speeches and publications. She was born in 1825 in Baltimore, Maryland, and she died in Philadelphia in 1911. Songs for the People by Frances Ellen Watkins Harper. Let me make songs for the people, songs for the old and young, songs to stir like a battle cry whenever they are sung. Not for the clashing of sabers, for carnage or for strife, but songs to thrill the hearts of men with more abundant life. Let me make the songs for the weary amid life's fever and fret, till hearts shall relax their tension and careworn brows forget. Let me sing for the little children before their footsteps stray, sweet anthems of love and duty to float o'er life's highway. I would sing for the poor and aged when shadows dim their sight, of the bright and restful mansions where there shall be no night. Our world, so worn and weary, needs music pure and strong to hush the jangle and discords of sorrow, pain, and wrong. Music to soothe all its sorrow, till war and crime shall cease, and the hearts of men grow tender, girdle the world with peace.
We're getting used to meeting like this. You and me through that camera lens, and everyone here. We welcome our new AV technician, Daniel Goodsit, to our small sanctuary family on Sunday mornings. And welcome especially Scott and Karen with their music. Lena's an old hand at this. So welcome to you all. It still amazes me how this congregation holds together. To see the folks out in the garden, physically distant, working as usual, keeping it such a beautiful place. Meetings of one or two here and there. Our standing committee meetings on Zoom just about every week. Our gatherings that Lena mentioned, our fellowship, our learning, our joy in being together, even if it's across the ether. The work of the congregation continues. We continue to pay our bills, continue to do the things we like to do, to continue to connect with the wider community. And for all this, we are grateful for your ongoing support. On Sunday mornings, we pass the plate as an additional offering, an offering that gives you a chance to show your generosity and your gratitude for all that is here, all that's here for us together. So for the ongoing mission of this congregation, the morning's offering will be greatly received. If you have the wherewithal to go and find another web page and go to our home page, www.uunaples.org, and push the donate button now, that's great. I hope you do that. You can do that at the end of the service. And as always, you can send in a check or just put aside some money every week and bring it in when we all come together. What a jubilee that will be. The morning's offering will be gratefully received.
The next reading, Hope Rises, is by the Reverend John Burens and the Reverend Rebecca Ann Parker. Hope rises. It rises from the heart of life, here and now, beating with joy and sorrow. Hope longs. It longs for good to be reaffirmed, for justice and love to prevail, for suffering to be alleviated, and for life to flourish in peace. Hope remembers. It remembers the dreams of those who have gone before and reaches for connection with them across the boundary of death. Hope acts. It acts to bless, to protest, and to repair.
I want to thank Scott and Karen again for being with us. When this service was originally planned, the theme for the month was going to be play. And it seemed a wonderful thing to maybe have Scott and Karen here playing their great music, their fun music, lively. And of course, since then, so many things have transpired to change the tone of our days. But it's also important for us to find joy, to find a chance to play in spite of and during this time, to find ways to balance. Bluegrass music has its roots in American Southern string band music, both black and white. It has its roots in the blues and country music and English and Irish and Scottish music that found its way into the Appalachian Mountains. All these were coalesced into a high-energy, fast-tempo sound that was developed mostly by one band, one artist, Bill Monroe, with his Kentucky Bluegrass Boys, and thus the name of the genre. And while you might think that bluegrass doesn't have a history of being a protest kind of music, in reality, the protest has always been there in the passive melancholy sounds of displaced workers longing for their home in the Blue Hills of the Carolinas and the Blue Ridge Mountains. And now, in this very precarious moment in our nation's history, no other musical genre sits quite so close to the fault lines that divide us. Performers like Rhiannon Giddens, who heads up the group Carolina Chocolate Drops, they're reclaiming the music's African-American roots, restoring the tradition of black string bands that seem to have been written out of the history of bluegrass, telling stories of the black American experience, from slavery to police shootings. The banjo itself, so integral a part of bluegrass, was fashioned by African Americans in the United States, recalling instruments of similar design from their own African roots. And the beat goes on, so to speak. The grassroots organization Bluegrass Pride has become a powerful force for diversity and inclusivity in a musical community that is still perceived as being overwhelmingly white and straight. But music has always been a powerful wedge, a powerful force in American culture. All the diverse genres weaving in and out of our history, storytelling at its best, words and music reaching deeper than rhetoric alone, calming or lifting our spirits, making us laugh, urging us forward. I can remember one of the most powerful experiences in my own young life was during the Civil Rights Movement. And I was a pretty much unaware kind of kid, his head in the clouds, when my mother pushed me onto a bus headed for Roxbury, Massachusetts, to take part in a stay out of school for freedom during the middle of the busing crisis, the desegregation, the attempts to desegregate the Boston public schools. I was afraid. I was shy. I didn't know why I was there. And yet, as the day moved on and I heard the voices speaking of the injustice, of the inequities in our society, I began to open my eyes to some realities. But what really, really moved me, what really caught me, was the music, the songs that we sang. We shall overcome. Oh, freedom, this little light of mine, one more step. Some of these songs can be found in our hymnal. The music grabbed me and lifted me and moved me along. It was such a powerful experience. I was so grateful listening to the news yesterday and hearing music begin to emerge in the news reports about the protests that are going on still. Music that captures so much and creates so much unity. I can tell you that if I were someone theoretically on the other side, if there is another side, that I would be more frightened of a group of 1,000 people singing, "We shall overcome," than I would be a group of people shouting angry slogans. Each week when we gather in our worship services, music is an integral part. We center ourselves into our time of sharing with a centering hymn, Spirit of Life, or as we did this morning, Lean on Me. And we finish with a musical meditation that allows our thoughts to wander a little, to remember those things that are stirring within us, the joys or the sorrows. And in between, when we share our personal joys and sorrows each week, I'll sometimes say that joy and sorrow are woven fine, meaning that the fabric of our lives is rich with both, and we can't have one without the other. The phrase comes from 2 stanzas of the William Blake poem, Auguries of Innocence. Joy and woe are woven fine, a clothing for the soul divine. Under every grief and pine runs a joy with silken twine. It is right it should be so. We were made for joy and woe. And when this we rightly know, through the world we safely go. As our opening words this morning suggest, we arise each morning to a new day in a remarkable place, fresh with promise and ripe with possibility. I suspect that, however, that there are more of us that tend to look at the news before we do anything else than to issue a salutation to the dawn. Once our eyes are open, our minds and hearts tend to reconnect with the ups and downs of the previous day. And if you're like me, then they leap forward a few hours to what has to happen. The routines kick in and carry us through the time between waking and sleeping, and we get to the other end of the day and sometimes don't even know how we got there. How wonderful it would be if we were to be fully awake to each day, each moment, unwrapping each moment, both the good and the bad, with our full presence and attention, choosing with compassion and with a sense of responsibility those things to which we will give our attention, and then honoring those things with a response that brings to the moment our best selves. My dad used to talk about a critical moment, sometimes incredibly short, in which we can find our humanity. That moment between the stimulus and the response, perhaps between the waking and the being awake, the space between what the world throws at us and how we react to it. To be able to respond well requires that we be present, that we be calm to each moment, with an openness that allows us to make our way with kindness and with love, and even to express our anger, should there be anger, through those channels, so that it carries even more weight. And always, I think, always there's the music. When we sing and move and feel together, we begin to approach that sense of beloved community to which we aspire. When we recognize the depth of our connections to others and find within ourselves the need to nourish those connections, we begin to move towards the ideal of beloved community. When we throw our cautious natures aside and open ourselves anew to the next encounter, we find joy in moving together towards the ideal of beloved community. When we find our humanity in the critical moment between stimulus and response, the moment between when we catch someone's eye and before we turn away, and then act with compassion, ready with our best selves for whatever is asked, then we begin to move towards the ideal of beloved community. This past Wednesday, Kenny Sway recognized a moment of possibility and filled it with light and song. The crowd unified and joyful amidst even the anger and frustration found something special. The German theologian and anti-Nazi dissident Dietrich Bonhoeffer wrote, "Music can help dissolve your perplexities and purify your character and sensibilities, and in time of care and sorrow will keep a fountain of joy alive in you." All that we are feeling in these days, all the fear and despair, the anxiety and the grief, all are woven fine within a myriad of feelings and are there for us to embrace as part of being human. And when juxtaposed with joy and hope, we can recognize them as both and experiences, in the words of Patrick Parker. Emotions that we must and do hold as human beings in being human. And in holding the tension between these seemingly incompatible extremes, we can smile at our own humanity and be compassionate for ourselves and for others who are going through all these same things. We can smile at our own selves and our humanity and open ourselves to that unity that we hope to see in the future. We hope that we can grow into new horizons, new ways of thinking, more hope and joy, to a more open, generous, and compassionate life. We wouldn't have survived long as a species if we were wired to hold on too long tightly to the things that hold us, that bind us. One of humanity's most revered spiritual teachers, Thich Nhat Hanh, writes, "Please call me by my true names so I can hear all my cries and my laughs at once, so I can see that my joy and pain are one. Please call me by my true name so I can wake up and so the door of my heart can be left open, the door of compassion." Our benediction comes from the Reverend Matt Mayer, UU musician. May we go forward in purposeful rhythm, that we may give voice to the melody of our imaginations, the music of our souls, and all the possibilities of a just world as we might together create it. Go in peace. Amen. Ashe. Shalom. Have a wonderful day. Awesome. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.